Hi everyone, this is Dr. Charles Lee. Before this episode starts, I have a small favor to ask from you. Many visit and watch the videos and they find it very informative, they get excited. Some of them write to me on my email, but they don't subscribe. So, would you do me a small favor? Would you just press that subscribe button? It'll be so good for all of us. Certainly, it helps the channel grow. It adds a little bit of vitality to the channel. At the same time, the numbers get bigger, and my heart gets bigger too. So just to know that you're with me, you enjoy the company, and I enjoy your company. You won't believe it. So please subscribe, press that button. I want to hear those bells jingle, and most of all, stay tuned. And I love your company. We'll talk again. Heart-to-heart conversations are so important today, where we want real honesty, we want truth, we want the real deal of what it is to live the real life. And Heart Talk is about issues, real issues concerning health, wealth, lifestyle, living, and most important of how to live to the fullest potential of what we are all capable of doing. And really, to really explain all this, and is my guest today. She's exemplary person that I've been so excited. I can't wait to just bring her on board for you to join in. She's a writer, she's an author, she's an activist, she's a mother, and she's the daughter to the most important political figure in modern Malaysia. Datin Paduka Marina Mahathir's life journey and testimony goes beyond the personal and into the heart of what truly matters in a family and in the life of a nation. Her most recent book, and I'm showing it to you right here, is The Apple and the Tree, which is a glimpse into the history of a nation's quest for survival and into the world of a life of a family that is all too familiar to many of us this past 50 years, including me. So, without further ado, would you please join me to welcome Marina Mahathir. Welcome, Marina. Welcome to Heart Talk.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And I want to congratulate you on this book.
Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful. It's a wonderful read. And while I'm holding it up, let me put a plug in right now. Friends, if you're watching in 3 weeks' time, we're going to celebrate Mother's Day. And this is a perfect gift to your mother, to those who are mothers to be, and those who are planning to get mother, and you'll be a mother someday. But to all the women out there, and including the men, to everyone, read this book cover to cover, and then you'll know who I'm talking about. So there you go. I mean, it's a beautiful. I can tell you one thing: it's so beautifully written, and the reason. Yep, and the reason why is because I'm going to spend this time with you, Marina, over the next 40, 45 minutes. You can spend the whole day with me talking, but 3 chapters are very personal to me. They just leapt out. And I had to pause, and it took me a while to finish the book because of these 3 chapters. So finally, I come to the third part and the last part, which is chapter 14. And I've titled it, Lest We Forget. And that is the man whose heart stopped twice.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's a very personal chapter because 11 years ago, I had open heart surgery. And I know what I went through. And to have my prime minister, the 4th and the 7th, to have gone through 3 times to have his chest opened, and the second was because of the third one was because of infection or whatever. But we forget all these moments because of how much it takes a person to go through that kind of a strain. I had my family on my heart. Dr. Mahathir had not only his family, but he had a nation on his heart. And a lot of people forget that. And so I share with you, and let me just share this a little bit of time with you. So I share with you the anxiousness and the pain and the worry and the hopelessness of not knowing the outcome. And I can tell you one thing, you became a pretty good cardiothoracic intern as I read the chapter, because you were talking about intubation and all that. But Marina, on the night before my surgery, I wrote 3 letters to each of my children because I knew that there was a chance I may not see them again. And that was a humbling moment for me as a surgeon. I knew the risk. And I wrote the closest of things in my heart to my children in a letter, just in case I don't make it. And in fact, after surgery, I was in ICU, and I was a true symbol of what Malaysia is all about. I had my heart opened out by a Malaysian Malay. I had my legs, veins harvested by a Malaysian Chinese. I had my tube extubated by a Malaysian Indian. And that was I, in gratitude, thanking God for all these 3 people. And I'm thinking of the rose garden with all those flowers, And it was a reminder to me of what a pain one goes through. Life is so fragile. And so 1982, 2007, I mean, those were tough years for the family and for you.
I think what we should remember also is that he entrusted himself into the hands of Malaysian doctors.
Yes, absolutely.
And he didn't go, elsewhere.
Yeah.
And because of that, he set up the IJN, which is a fantastic institution.
Yeah, I had my surgery there.
Yeah, they are fabulous doctors. I mean,
yes.
If you think I'm a good cardiothoracic intern, it's because I had the best teachers.
There you go.
They all taught me everything.
There you
because
go.
we had to know every detail of what was happening to our dad. So yeah.
No, that's why I feel that chapter was, wow, I really went through every line. And I mean, my cardiologist was my houseman 30 years ago. When I used to do my rounds, he would come in. He was a classic guy. And today he's head of cardiology in IJN. And so, how life spins, after 30 years, you meet the guys you go out with, and they are
I know.
It's,
and the first time, it's amazing because the first time, they all look so young. They all look incredibly young. And now they're still taking care of him.
There you go.
And they've matured quite a bit, but they're still taking care of him. So it's quite incredible.
Yeah, I know.
It's a very close relationship.
Absolutely. I mean, his surgeon and I were together in General Hospital in the 1980s. So we were together, but it's wonderful. But I wanted to bring this up because, when your heart is stopped, people forget what a risk. And just give us 1 or 2 incidents, heart-wrenching moments that were personal for you.
Well, when they reeled him in, I mean, the night before, of course, the surgeons explained to us what the whole procedure is. And that they have to stop the heart and do what they have to do, and then they have to restart it. And the risk is in the restarting. And when they stop it, he's of course not technically dead because he's on a machine that does the work of the heart.
Absolutely.
But the restarting, because obviously you can't live on a machine forever. Your heart needs to start again, and that's the risk. And it's it's a scary 3 or 4 hours or whatever that we had to wait to know what happens. And then he comes out of it. And then, like I said in the book, it's one thing. The operation itself is one thing. The recovery is something else. And I don't know whether everyone talks about the recovery period as much, because it depends. I don't know, because my dad was older. Although the first time I think he was 63 or something. He's younger than I am now, actually. But the older you are, the recovery takes longer, and a lot of it depends on your mind, right? Your mind really controls the way your body works.
Yes.
And if you don't have the right mindset, if you feel despair, depressed and everything, it's you're not going to start up again.
No,
I
you're
mean,
right.
like I keep saying, the whole body is an ecosystem.
Yeah.
It relies on everything. I mean, the heart, the lungs rely on the heart, the blood system relies on the way the heart pumps, and the liver and everything, the kidneys and the mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my dad, if nothing else, I mean, he's not particularly athletic or whatever, but his mind is really what's pulled him through, not just then, but other times too, when he's been down. I mean, just even last year,
Yeah.
he was very ill last year, and we thought, gosh, this is it. How could he possibly survive this? And he pulled himself out of it
No. Yeah.
just
Absolutely.
through his mind.
Fine. Yeah. I mean, you're
Yeah.
right, because I remember, the moment that my tube was taken out, and one of the first who came up to see me in the ICU was my daughter, and Sarah, and she came in, and I said, take the camera and take a picture of me. And there was I, with the tube, and I had just been extubated. I was taking my breath, and she said, Daddy, what do you want this picture for? I said, I'm going to start a website called HEARTtalk. And that's where HEARTtalk started, from when I was in ICU. And till today, it's the mind that keeps going on. And I think it's, like I said, creativity is a currency that feeds the mind. So on that note, I mean, it's a beautiful chapter to read, to understand the trials of a family, and I tell you, open heart surgery is not an easy walk.
No.
The best friend I had, Marina, after the surgery, was a small pillow that was given to me.
Yeah. You hold and then you cough.
Every
Yeah.
cough, every
You have to cough.
sneeze, I would hold that pillow. It was the closest I could ever have. And
Yeah.
but and that's the reason why I wanted to do this podcast. I was in the army for 2 years as a captain, seconded from the Ministry of Health. And so we were taught about recce. You got to recce a situation before you go into it. And that's why I made my trip to the Bajana Leadership Foundation. I made my way up the steps. I was talking to the guard, and I said, "Just don't do these steps." And he said, "Yeah, if he's well, and if he's not, he will use the lift." So I did a 2-minute kind of a workup with my videos and all that. And next day I had COVID. So, so the conversation. But anyway, I want to thank you for the service and what you went through, and just thank you that you were there for him. And which brings me to the title of your book, The Apple and the Tree. And so we'll close with that, because there's an old patriarchal saying that goes like this: keep me as the apple of your eye, and hide me under the shadow of your wings. So the apple of the eye is the pupil that you see in the eye. And if you go close enough to a person, you can see the reflection of the person in the pupil. And of course, it's a much smaller little pupil. So you're the little girl in the father's eye. And it's a reflection of how close love is when you talk about the apple and the pupil of the apple. So I wanted to leave that with you, that, there's not a single page that goes without 3 letters, Dad. And I think that's a beautiful thing to read about, that the closeness of a daughter and the father writing about her journey. And again, the cost of having to, share that father with a nation is not an easy one. And so
it's also about a struggle, though. It's about a struggle to be my own person.
Absolutely, which is why
that is really the thrust of the book.
It is.
Yeah.
Coming out and carving a future and a destiny for yourself. And I think this is something well lived and well done. And that's why I keep putting a plug in again. Go for the PhD, because it's just begun. Now, Mother's Day, 3 weeks' time, a beautiful gift. Say something to the mothers out there, Marina.
Well, actually, I think this is a book for daughters.
Okay. Yeah, it's a gift for the mothers.
Especially, I mean, if you are a mother as well, great. But if you are a daughter, especially if you are an eldest daughter, I think this book might resonate. I mean, I've been told by other daughters that this book really resonated with them because it's a story about a daughter-father relationship. So, well, a lot of daughters are also mothers. So if you want to get it for Mother's Day, great. Thank you. It's still out there in the bookstores.
Okay.
So yeah, any of the big.
It's a perfect read. I enjoyed it, and I've certainly enjoyed this conversation with you. It was really a struggle in the beginning. I was thinking to myself, I don't want to talk to her about all the other stuff that's going on. I just wanted to hear her heart, which is what Heart Talk is all about. You are the Ishon of your father's eye, which is the apple of his eye. Remember that. It's how close it is with your father. I have a daughter, Sarah, and the love of my life. So I know what it means to have a daughter too. And so let me end by thanking you for joining me on Heart Talk. But I'd like to end with these words written by Maya Angelou. People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. And I think, and I think this book is a book that tells it all bluntly, truthfully, and to the heart of the matter, which is about living life to its fullest potential. And so once again, congratulations. There's more work. We need you more. Be an activist that you are. And we look forward to the second book soon.
No, I don't know. Hopefully.
Okay. Well, thank you once again, Marina. Thank you for joining me on Heart Talk. So for those of you who have joined in, listen, get to the bookstore today and get that book out. Give it to whoever you want it, but read the whole book. Never judge a book by its cover. Read it. And once again, from all of us here, from my girls, Mary and Heidi, thank you once again, Marina Mahathir.
Thank you. Thanks.